Controversy. Pretty much everything is controversial these days. Mario Kart, on the other hand, has been controversial forever. Mario Kart tracks, for one, are very controversial. Here's my pick for the most controversial track in every Mario Kart game, from Super Mario Kart up until Mario Kart 1. Well, first, we must start in Super Mario Kart, but before I do, let me lay out some ground rules. Controversial does not mean unpopular. It means a track that is loved by some and hated by others. Also, no retro tracks will be included, unless the reason they are controversial is because of a massive difference with the original. With that said, let's jump into Super Mario Kart. Super Mario Kart is, irrefutably, the most basic Mario Kart game. Console limitations massively halted the imagination of the game. This means that most people agree that all the tracks are not great and do not hold up to the expectations set by the more modern games. Except Mario Circuit 2. That's one of the best tracks in the whole series. Fight me. This means that I've had to imagine what the general consensus of tracks was in 1992, well over a decade before I was born. But I think I got this. SNES Rainbow Road is the obvious frontrunner, at least in my mind. Its proponents might claim that it's a great track, but lack of guardrails and sharp turns make for a great challenge. And, in a game with mostly weaker tracks, it's actually alright. It's a breath of fresh air. However, its detractors claim that it is a bad track. They claim the lack of guardrails, making the track so difficult, was the sole reason for Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road being entirely guardrailed. The thwomps, they claim, are obnoxious, and they're right. They say that the sharp turns make it unenjoyable. Additionally, the poor controls of the game generally make it hard to control your kart on any track, let alone the track with no guardrails. Anyways, let's move on now to Mario Kart 64. Mario Kart 64 is probably the most controversial game in the whole series. This obviously means that there are a fair few controversial tracks in that game. Mario Kart 64 also had certain console limitations, making it difficult to map out ideas. This also made for bland tracks, but due to it not entirely being in 2D like Super Mario Kart, the tracks are a little more interesting. A couple of tracks immediately spring to my mind when I think of controversial Mario Kart 64 tracks. Toad Turnpike is one of them, barely though. I don't imagine anyone genuinely finds this fun. Choco Mountain, also, but for mostly the opposite reason. Only people who are really bad at this track actually hate it. DK's Jungle Parkway and Yoshi Valley are both mentioned here due to their difficulty, and Yoshi Valley for some other reasons as well. However, two tracks stick out above all: Wario Stadium and Rainbow Road. Detractors of both claim that the tracks are too long, 5, nearly even 6 minutes for one track. They also claim that, on top of that, the tracks are just genuinely boring. I've gone back and forth on this for a while, but I eventually came up with a conclusion. At least on Rainbow Road, the haters are only really upset with the length, but Wario Stadium haters genuinely hate everything with the track. Lovers of it claim that it's epic. I mean, look at the walls. Wario Stadium was the last N64 track to make its debut as a retro track, and detractors often think that was for a good reason. One game that had retro tracks-ish was Mario Kart Super Circuit. Again, Mode 7 was used, making the game more bland. Super Circuit doesn't have any star-stunning tracks. If you were to take out Rainbow Road, Cheeseland, Sky Gardens, and Sunset Wilds, there would be genuinely no reason to play this game. I've been thinking about it a lot, but one track kept coming into my mind: Boo Lake. This makes sense, as I can attest to this personally. I am a staunch hater of Boo Lake. When I was a little kid growing up, I literally never completed this track. Believe me when I tell you, not once did I get top 4 on this track. I kid you not. For a good few years of my life, I had to play Cheeseland and Bowser Castle 2 exclusively from Quick Run. Nobody hated anything in the entire world as much as 6 to 10-year-old me hated Boo Lake. It blows my mind to think of people who genuinely like Boo Lake, but they exist. They claim it's a good challenge for players. Damn straight it's a challenge. Thankfully now I can win on that track, and Mario Kart 8's version is much better. But oh my lord, I lost years of my life from playing Boo Lake. Sorry for this one overly opinionated section, but I just couldn't help myself. Mario Kart Double Dash was inarguably a massive step in the right direction for the Mario Kart series. This was the first game entirely in 3D, meaning that the tracks were more fully fleshed out. This allowed for better track design and less janky controls. Sort of. As for controversial tracks, there aren't very many in this game. Every single track, with the obvious exception of Mario and Luigi Circuit, are genuinely good tracks. However, there are 2 tracks that are incredibly controversial. Honestly, I'd go as far to say is that they are the most controversial tracks in Mario Kart history. Wario Coliseum. Much like Wario Stadium on the N64, a long track. But at least this one has more turns and is a more fun experience overall. I'd argue that this track, even while it may be the second most controversial track in the series, arguably, completely and utterly pales in comparison to the most controversial track in the entire series, inarguably. Baby Park. Oh, Baby Park. I must make this quick because this is by far and away the most controversial track in the series. Its fans say that the massive items on a small track and 7 laps of it makes Baby Park hectic and thus fun. Its opponents say that the hecticity makes the track unfun and a bad time to play overall. What's not an unfun game is Mario Kart DS. Mario Kart DS is also a fan favorite Mario Kart game. I personally like this game and all of its tracks, even if the retro track selection is a little weak. Once again, console limitations prevented this game from being great, and its tracks suffered a little bit as a result of it. Though you'd never know that based off the tracks Luigi Mansion, Waluigi Pinball, Airship Fortress, Tick-Tock Clock, Delfino Square, and Desert Hills, which are all in this game. You know what, honestly? If there was any game that I think was pretty uncontroversial, it was this game. Its nitro tracks were pretty set. I mean, nobody will fight me when I say Figure 8 Circuit is a candidate for worst track in the series. This is where I broke out the retro clause. I wanted to avoid retro tracks, but I did set out an exception in the beginning, unless the controversy surrounded the remake, not the track entirely. This means I must include GCN Mushroom Bridge as the entry for Mario Kart DS. Granted, this track wasn't exactly setting up a storm of controversy in 2005 either, but there are people out there who like the remake. However, almost everyone agrees with the removal of sidewalks, the pipe shortcut, traffic cars, and the ability to drive atop the bridge, the track got worse. Mario Kart Wii is also a largely liked and popular game. What Mario Kart Wii isn't, however, is the game with uncontroversial nitro tracks. There are 2 that massively jump out at me. Moonview Highway, which, to be honest, I couldn't really find a reason why this would be number 1, and Wario's Gold Mine. Detractors of the latter claim that the track is too difficult, too bland, and or too easy to break. I imagine that the larger consensus is slightly in favor of pro Wario's Gold Mine, as they claim the track, while easy to break and decently difficult, is a fun and hectic track. They also say that the track is enjoyable to race on, which, you know what, I second. Second is not a place I would normally get in Mario Kart 7, the game I lived, breathed, and ate at the same time I couldn't beat Boo Lake. And honestly now, I'm not gonna lie, Mario Kart 7 easily has one of the best track selections. I mean, for nitro tracks, you have Shy Guy Bazaar, Music Park, Rock Mountain, Wario Shipyard, DK Jungle, and that Rainbow Road. Retros don't stop, and they include Mushroom Gorge, Luigi's Mansion, Waluigi Pinball, Coconut Mall, Calamari Desert, Daisy Cruiser, Airship Fortress, Dino Jungle, and the best track of all time, SNES Mario Circuit 2. However, controversy definitely exists. A couple stood out to me. Mario Circuit? Nah, that castle doesn't save it from being a circuit track. Rosalina's Ice World? No, that's genuinely a cool track. Piranha Plant Pipeway? Nah, just get better. One track that stood out indefinitely was Neo Bowser's City. Koopa City in PAL, many people praise the track for its difficulty, and I personally enjoy it for the sick drifts I can perform. However, a lot of people think it's one of the worst due to the intense difficulty of the track. I can totally agree to this. Neo Bowser City on a 150cc could absolutely destroy your race. No way you're staying on the track. Moving on to Mario Kart 8, which had a whole host of controversy on the Wii U. Don't believe me? Let's play Battle Mode. As for tracks, they were mostly well liked, and the ones that weren't were universally disliked. If I were to make this video in 2014, before any of the DLC, I would have struggled. But now I could confidently say that Hyrule Circuit is the most controversial track in the series. Its proponents focus more on the track part, as they claim that the track itself is fun, but opponents focus on what it means for the series itself. Mario Kart now had tracks inspired by The Legend of Zelda. Ice Ice Outpost and Animal Crossing didn't receive that level of controversy because the former was just genuinely an unpopular track, and the latter quite the opposite. Hyrule Circuit, thus, I believe is the most controversial to the circumstances surrounding it, rather than the actual track itself. Honestly, Mario Kart World really halted me from starting this video earlier. This game has been out for only a year. I cannot confidently identify a controversial track from this game. While the highway sections are definitely controversial and heavily unpopular, I'm not sure about the tracks. However, I think I've settled on Boo Cinema. Boo Cinema actually was my favorite track upon release and probably still is today. However, many people think that the layout is dull and boring, while I think a Haunted Cinema track is a breath of fresh air after, initially, 6 haunted boardwalks and recently 2 haunted mansions. Well, there you have it, the most controversial track from every Mario Kart game. What do you think? What is the most controversial track in every Mario Kart game? Where did you disagree with me? Why do people like Boo Lake? All definite questions that I want answered in the comments.